This video looks at how to write a business report. Firstly, why write a business report? Well, a business report is seen by a number of executives and managers in the business, and they need to convey and communicate information to very busy people in a very straightforward manner. What should you include in a business report? Well, first thing is you really need to include business terminology, concepts and definitions, inclusive language, so words like business owner, not man or woman, full sentences that relate back to the scenario, headings, subheadings and diagrams where the diagrams are appropriate, and you need to use third person, this report will. It can be concluded that. And always be objective. Make statements only based on facts. We've looked at what to include, now let's look at what to avoid. Firstly, you should avoid using first person, saying I, we, or you. You should avoid slang terms and casual language. Keep it formal. You should avoid giving your own opinion. Everything needs to be based on facts. You need to avoid a list of brief points that don't actually explain anything. You need to avoid an executive summary that just rewrites the scenario. You need to avoid just highlighting everything on your page. You need to avoid not providing recommendations if it asks you to do it. You need to avoid actually passing by the question completely, so answer it. You need to avoid using incorrect terms and definitions. And you need to avoid being subjective, statements based on feelings. Stick to the facts. Let's look at a scenario now. Bill Parcells is the owner of a small butchery, Bill's Butchery, that employs 5 people. The business is currently in the growth stage of the business life cycle. Bill wants to expand his business across more suburbs in Sydney and wants to find out the best way to finance this and whether he will need to adopt a more appropriate legal structure for his business. He has asked you to prepare a business report for his consideration. In your report, you will need to describe 2 challenges present in the growth stage of the business life cycle, recommend the sources of finance that could be used to fund the planned expansion, and propose the best legal structure the business could adopt if Bill decides to expand. The first thing you'll need is an executive summary. This is an introduction to the report. It briefly covers what the report is about, the names of the businesses that might be referred to, and usually follows the format and language of the question being answered. Some people prefer to leave space at the beginning of the report and write the executive summary at the end, once they know what is in the report. Using this scenario, an example is provided to you on the right-hand side. Notice it uses the heading of Executive Summary. It briefly highlights what the scenario mentioned. It breaks down the scenario into 3 dot points, each saying what the report will be looking at. And then finally, because it was asked of you, the Executive Summary also mentions the recommendations that will then be made. Next, in your business report, you will have the body. The body of the business report goes through each section of the question and answers it in detail. It is set out using headings and subheadings. Use an introductory sentence under the main heading to list the items that will become your further subheadings. Include course terminology keywords and underline or highlight these. Always remember to refer back to the scenario throughout your business report to illustrate your understanding of your business knowledge. Note the example on the right. The headings are underlined, and then following on from that, each subheading is then in italics. You can also use numbers or letters to signify headings and subheadings. Notice also that every heading and subheading comes directly from the scenario itself. Finally, in your business report, you have the conclusion or summary and any recommendations. The conclusion is very similar to the executive summary. However, while the executive summary tells the reader what will be included in the report, future tense, the conclusion tells the reader what has been included in the report, past tense. The conclusion is usually an overview of main components and any recommendations. However, remember, the conclusion should not introduce any new content that hasn't already been mentioned in the body. Note the example on the right.